I move on with the next step. As Michael mentioned, now we know in this specific context of the project of Burkina, we know what could be potential behavioral factors for latrine use and hand washing after latrine use. So now we go and measure those behavioral factors. We do this with a quantitative survey. So now we develop questions for a questionnaire based on the outcomes of the qualitative survey that Mikael just showed you. So this is how it looks like, and maybe Mikael, you explain a little how you did this.
Yeah, so here, remember it was during the weekend that we worked on that to be ready for Monday for the test. And so we had 4 behaviors actually in the group. And so basically we went through the different qualitative interviews that we had, the 15 to 20 interviews I mentioned. And then we developed, we took the findings and we developed the quantitative questionnaire on this basis. So I highlighted in yellow the different things that came out from the qualitative phase. So the latrine is hot or fresh, dark or illuminated. There was another one, bad or good smell, the waste of time for the latrine use. Latrine saves you from danger, like being bitten by a snake, and so on and so on. So we screened all the qualitative interviews, and the main occurrences, we took them as a question in the next survey. So the idea now with this survey would be to assess the different factors and if there are meaningful differences between doers and non-doers. And for these, we also build up different types of questions. So sometimes you have yes, no questions. And whenever we have how much or we try to have 5 types of answers to measure more precisely, like a scale, a little bit, and so on. So we did then the survey with a sample of 130 people. So we trained the data collectors, and they went into the village using a random way of choosing people, of course, and trying to have non-doers and doers. So sometimes you don't know at the beginning if people are doers or non-doers, so you have to be sure to have both groups. And so we ended up with 96 surveys that were eligible. I won't go into details. There was some sorting due to the methodology, but one thing was that we took out, for some reason, data collectors also interviewed people who didn't have a latrine at home. So we took them out of the sample because it doesn't make sense. People had, well, they maybe at some point they would be targeted by the project during the year, but at the moment it was hard for people to protect themselves if they had a latrine or. Yeah. So, and we used, of course, some digitalization to be more efficient and to do the data analysis quite easily. So we used this ODK software, which is a free app that we put on smartphones and tablets for that purpose.
Okay, so this step, the data collection with the questionnaire, that is also a randomly sampled population, gives you first an idea of how often your behavior is actually performed. So how many people, how high is the percentage of your population that already uses a latrine and how high is the percentage that doesn't. It gives you this insight, and it gives you the insight into what is the difference between the factors that we found could be important. So the qualitative interviews give you an idea what could be important, and the quantitative survey then measures more in detail what actually is important in terms of where is the biggest difference. So we have here in green, we have the ones that use a latrine, the users. Orange are the non-users, and this is the blue is the difference. So if you can read these questions, we found that among the users, 61% mentioned cholera as a health risk, or a health risk, and 45% only of the non-users. So we found there is a difference actually in health knowledge. I give you only some examples, but the goal is after the quantitative questionnaire to find the most meaningful differences between users and non-users, because this is what you're going to work with when you develop your strategy, your behavior change strategy. We found quite some differences in emotions. So the non-users, as was suspected from the qualitative interviews, and it was confirmed with this survey, that they feel trapped in this latrine. So the people rated it on a scale, and these are the mean scores of this rating. So non-users feel more trapped in the latrine. So this is something that could be targeted. Then we also found that the trust in the hygienist, the hygiene promoter or facilitator, is lower among the non-users. So 81% of the users thought that the hygienist has an important opinion, and only 64% of the non-users. So there could be something to do about the perception of the importance and the credibility of the hygienist. And also one strong difference was found between the remembering of the behavior that comes out very often. So people are convinced about the health risk and everything, but then they forget. They simply forget to perform a new behavior. So you know it probably from yourself. You have a habit, you've done it all your life, and then you want to change it, but you always forget in the crucial situations. So this is also an outcome of this questionnaire. So now we have these results from the questionnaire. We say, okay, these are the 4 most important differences between the green users and the orange non-users. And now we want to develop the behavior change strategies.